to day 5 of my 31 Days of Horror, and today's movie is going to be The Babadook. And I have got to apologise first to Jennifer Kent because I absolutely slated this film when I first saw it. I absolutely love it now, and I know I do love this film. So apologies to Jennifer and to everybody else involved in this film, and to all you fans of this film, because I wrongfully slated it when I first watched it. Yeah, I know guys, shout at me, say whatever you want.
Where'd you get this?
On the shelf.
If it's in a word or it's in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook. A rumbling sound, then 3 sharp knocks.
Babadook, duck, duck.
That's when you'll know he's around. You'll see him if you look. Nothing bad's gonna happen, Sam.
Did you think that about my dad before he died?
He sees things as they are, that one.
I promised to protect you if you promised to protect me.
Oh my God. Did he hurt anyone?
The boy has significant behavioural problems.
This monster thing has got to stop, all right? It's just a book. It can't hurt you.
You alright?
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
You don't have to be fine, you know.
Just a bit stressed at the moment.
All children see monsters.
Not like this. I want to report someone stalking me and my child.
You can't get rid of the Babadook.
You can bring me the boy. You can bring me the boy. You can bring me the boy.
What do you want? You're trespassing in my house!
I'm sick, Sam. I need help. It isn't real. It isn't real.
Now before I continue guys, also, this short review will contain some spoilers. Not too many, I'm hoping, but it will contain some spoilers. This is such a good movie. As you can see, it's on in the background. It's a fantastic psychological horror movie. It stars Essie Davis, who plays Amelia, and it also stars Noah Wiseman, who plays his son Samuel. Now, the synopsis of the film is quite simple. Both Amelia and Samuel, mother and son, they both lost their husband and obviously their father in a tragedy that happened, I think it was a couple of years prior to the events of the Babadook. Neither of them have grieved properly. They can't get their heads around the loss, and Amelia seems to lack empathy towards her son Samuel. Samuel's an unruly child. He's always screaming, he's always attention seeking, it's always got to be about him. But basically, neither of them have grieved properly. That's how I interpret it. And as for Samuel, he seems to think that something evil is out there and it's either going to come and take him or take his mother or both of them away, just like they did with his father. So I can understand this 6-year-old's interpretation of death in this film. He is frightened that something is going to come and take his mother away. And one day this book appears. Samuel comes across this book, the Mr. Babadook or the Babadook, and he asks his mum, Amelia, if she'll read this book to him one night in bed. And it's a bit like a fairy tale book, but with a bit more darker undertones, a bit more sinister, if you will. So she reads it, and she just thinks it's just a rhyme, a bit of a sick rhyme, but she reads it nevertheless. And this is when strange things start to occur within the house. Samuel is convinced that Mr. Babadook is a real entity, and is going to come and take his mum away, somehow. So he designs all these gadgets, and he creates these weapons to try and protect him and his mother. At this point, Amelia, the mother, just thinks it's all in Samuel's head and it'll all be forgotten and it'll go away. Obviously it doesn't. As the film progresses, things start to happen in and around the house. Samuel becomes a bit more unruly. He starts picking on other children at this little local park, if you will. And basically, Amelia's friends start to disown her and Samuel. So she's becoming a bit of a loner, all because of her son's actions. And you can understand why Amelia is showing a lack of empathy towards her son. That mother-son relationship doesn't seem to exist. It just doesn't seem to be there, that bond, that loving bond. And it's a great story. The way it's not worded, but the way it's filmed, it really hits home well. Because it does put you in the place or in the shoes of Essie Davis, who plays Amelia. How would you cope with something as tragic as what they've just gone through? But the film, to me, is filmed in two stages. One's all about Amelia trying to just get on with a daily mundane life, trying to just plod along with work and everything else that's going on. And then the second part of the film, we see a changeover, like a role reversal, in that Amelia starts to imagine herself, is Mr. Babadook real? Is all these things happening, or is it in my head? Am I going a bit crazy with what's been going on, you know, with the grief and everything else? So then it comes to the attention of Samuel. He seems to be the one that takes control of this movie. He starts looking after his mum, protecting her, but she's becoming more and more distant. And there's one point in this film which I absolutely love. Well, there's 2 points actually. One point being, we see Amelia try to cover herself up in bed, you know, under the covers, and then Mr. Babadook comes from the roof and he falls into her. And that is the start, if you will, of her change into this crazy, murderous person, if you will. That's the way I can put it. And then there's another scene when she rips the pages out of the book because she thinks by destroying the book all these things will go away, everything that's happening. But then the book reappears, but with the pages sellotaped back together. Now, in this book, some of the pages that have been sellotaped back together, I think have slightly changed, if I remember rightly. And we see pictures of a woman killing a dog, strangling her son and things like that. Now, I didn't pick up on this when I first saw the film, or the first few times. I never really took much notice. But having watched it a few times since, now I can see it. Because throughout the film, we see Amelia start to reenact these pages in the book. So you start thinking, well, perhaps these things are real, the book is real, or is she just making these things up in her head and reenacting things that aren't there? It's a good film, guys, because there's a lot of questions that you've got to ask yourself about it. Are these things happening? Is it made up? Blah, 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 blah. And it's one of those, you've got to really sit with it. But that's the good thing about the Babadook is everybody's got their own interpretation, I think, of what this film means, what the symbolism behind it all is. We know it's obviously about grief, but to what level and how do people cope with it? So it's a good film for that. It's well written and well directed by Jennifer Kent. I've just got to apologise for slating this film when I first saw it. But let's get on to how it's filmed. I mean, the house, from what I believe is, the house that it's filmed in was purposefully built for this movie. And all the walls are painted in like a grey, bluey undertone, if you will. Very miserable looking colours. But it goes well, and it goes in line with the book of the Babadook. Because the pages are all black and white, grey and white. Very mysterious and dark and dull looking. And the house that they're in, you will think has been taken out of the book itself. It's like they are in this strange Babadook story. The house, the characters, it's like they are the main characters for this book, if that makes sense. But it's well crafted, it's well, you know, it's well directed, it's well filmed. There's a lot of dark, creepy elements to this film. If you like a psychological horror, you might compare it to the likes of The Shining, where it's all isolation. Because remember The Shining, it's in the lodge, you've got Jack Nicholson and his son, and obviously the wife. It's in an isolated environment. I suppose the Babadook's not quite as isolated as that, because there is a few characters in this film that come in and out of shot occasionally. But it's the actual being in the house when they're on their own, when we see Amelia and Samuel, they're both in the house alone, and there's a lack of love there. It's just dark, it's just nothing there for them. The isolation's there for all to see. And it really is a good film. I know I'm going on about saying it's a good film, but it is. I've watched it a few times, hated it the first few times, love it now. And like I said, guys, I've actually bought it on Blu-ray a while back, so I won't buy it unless I liked it. So yeah, but that's the synopsis, guys. It's about dealing with grief. It's got a lot of scary, eerie moments in the film. It's well crafted, it's well lit. Mr. Babadook himself now, again, I have seen a lot of reviews, and I do agree with them. I thought this the last time I watched it, and that is, if you took Mr. Babadook out of this film, would the film still be the same? And I think it would. I honestly think Mr. Babadook in this film it doesn't make any difference to the story whatsoever if he's in it or he isn't. It's all about a mother and son dealing with grief and dealing with their own demons. I don't even think you need to see Mr. Babadook in this film. I think that's just a creepy looking name, or a creepy sounding name, if you will, for a character in a storybook. We don't really see him in the film, to be quite honest, that much. Probably a couple of glimpses. The rest of the time, we just picture that he's over in the shadows. You know, he's watching them from the roof or in the corners of the house. He's living in the shadows. We only see him a couple of times, and again, it's only like a brief outline of him. So, yeah, this is what I mean. Is it a horror? Is it just a psychological? Is it a psychological horror? Is it a thriller? It could be placed under any of those genres. Like I said, take Mr. Babadook out, you could still watch the film The Babadook without him. You don't need him. It's such a powerful performance by, obviously, Essie and Noah Wiseman. You don't need Mr. Babadook. But he's in the film, he's creepy, the character does look good when you do see him. So, yeah, do you need him? Don't you need him? I don't think it really matters. But anyway, guys, that is it. I don't want to give too much away. I'm not going to tell you about what happens towards the end, because if you've not seen it, I want you to watch it, and I want you to watch it a few times if you have not already done. Because I wrongly criticised this film on one viewing, possibly two. Watch it several times, get your head around it, and love it for what it is. It's a well-crafted movie. So guys, if you've seen The Babadook, comment down below, tell me what you thought. If you haven't, go out and watch it, and then come back and tell me what you thought. Now, this video, guys, is, again, it's day 5 of my 31 Days of Horror, and it's all for charity. Like I said, it's a fundraiser I'm doing for BLEAKHOLT Annual Sanctuary. Links are down below, guys. They do a tremendous job looking after rehoused, rehomed animals. They're trying to rehome them. Donkeys, pigs, cats, guinea pigs, rabbits, horses, you name it, they'll look after them. Doesn't come cheap. I keep saying this in all my videos. Doesn't come cheap. There's bedding and food and everything else to, obviously, to fund. So if you can dig deep, guys, a couple of quid, that's all I'm asking. You don't have to do it at once. Donate. The links are down below to a Just Giving page. If you can, please donate. So guys, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe. And as always, guys, watch out for tomorrow, because I've got another special intro. There wasn't one on today. Unfortunately, I did try to contact everybody involved with the Babadook. Nobody really came forward and replied. It's a bit of a shame. But nevertheless, tomorrow I'm back on track. I've got another intro from another celebrity. Keep your eye out for that. I'm not going to say who it is or what film I'm reviewing, but keep your eye out for that, guys. And in the meantime, take care and look after yourselves.